the Prime Minister pledged that the NHS was safe in his hands. If that's the case, will he be backing our amendment today, which would undo the very damaging privatisation so much of our NHS?
Mr. Speaker, as for the NHS, this is the party whose sound management of the economy took this country back from the abyss and enabled us to spend another £34 billion on the NHS, a record investment. And Mr. Speaker, as I promised on the steps of Downing Street, to begin the upgrade of 20 hospitals, and as a result of the commitments this country is making, this government is making, 40 new hospitals, Mr. Speaker, will be built in the next 10 years. That is this party's commitment to the NHS.
I hate to break it to the Prime Minister, but under his government and that of his predecessor, privatisation has more than doubled to £10 billion in our NHS. There are currently 20 NHS contracts out to tender. And when he's promised 40 hospitals, he then reduced that to 20, and then it turns out that reconfiguration is taking place in just 6 hospitals. And so these numbers keep tumbling down. He continues to say, well, he will exclude our NHS from being up for grabs in future trade deals. Can he point to which clause in the withdrawal agreement bill secures that?
Mr. Speaker, I must say to him that he is completely wrong in what he says about privatisation of the NHS, and I must resist this, because those 40 new hospitals, those 47,000 extra clinical staff, including 17,000 nurses, they weren't paid for out of private funds, Mr. Speaker. They were paid for by the NHS. The reason we're able to pay for them is because this party and this government believes in sound management of the economy.
Now, Mr. Speaker, I actually asked the Prime Minister which clause in the bill protects our NHS, and obviously there's time for him to help us with an answer on that. He should also be aware that there's no public capital allocations made for the funding commitments that he's announced. All he said is there's seed funding. I'm not sure what seed funding is, but it doesn't sound. But it doesn't sound like the commitment that we were seeking, and it sounds awfully like private finance going into the NHS in order to deal with the issues it faces.